Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. Now totally and finally back from my trip to South by Southwest. I've been back physically, just not totally mentally. And I took a lot of pictures, some of which you can see down there in the description box. I have linked to a few photo sets that I took throughout the week of a few of the sets that I thought were particularly good while I was down in Austin, Texas. And I took a lot of video as well, all of which I will be showing you clips of in this video, going over all of the, not all of the, but a lot of the shows that I saw throughout the week, kind of the highlights for me. Let's go! Tuesday was a bit of a slow afternoon, but that night I went down to the Mohawk with my girlfriend and we saw the Pitchfork Show No Mercy metal showcase, because out of all the metal showcases that I was able to scout for that week, that one was one that was sort of not to miss. It had a lot of my favorite bands, metal bands that were going to be down there that week on it, so I figured I would get my metal addiction out of the way, starting off with Iron Reagan, who did a pretty good opening set, just like punk, crossover, thrash metal. There was some blast beats in there as well, especially toward the end. They were playing like some 30-second songs in the set too. They were just really intense at some moments. And then after them came Wind Hand, and they played some pretty heavy doom metal stoner rock stuff. And yeah, man, the bass was especially distorted on that one. Just really heavy set. I moved into another room after that on the other side of the venue to see Sandhead play, and their set was great. A few of these guys are actually from my own backyard of Connecticut. I remember one of them emailed me telling me to check out their record last year, which I thought was just okay. But then in person, I thought their take on instrumental black metal was a lot more interesting. The guitars were especially noisy. Of course, there was some post-rock influence in there, lots of atmosphere, but it really was the strong, intense playing that won me over during this set. And the band had some amazing projections in front of them, or sort of projecting on them, just like really weird light effects and TV static. It was pretty awesome. And then Christian Mistress were playing on the outside stage, open air stage after that, and I really dug their last full-length LP, and in person they just sounded like a heavier, punchier version of what I had already heard on the record. You know, they didn't pull any punches or any major surprises or anything like that, but still, the performance was energetic. There was a lot of momentum to the grooves on these tracks. They just had a very good, tight performance. And then after that, man, Power Trip, another band that, like Christian Mistress, I thought was a lot better in person than they actually are on record. I was not totally impressed with the LP that they put out on Southern Lord. I thought it was just a little too atmospheric and just didn't have that much of an interesting take on this old school crossover thrash sound. But in person, man, they kick ass. They just They didn't take any names. They just kicked ass all over the freaking set, and they just like had the most intense mosh pit out of any artist there. And there was actually this dude from PBS who was like trying to stage like a fake news report or something, and then like some dude kicked him in the head during the set. There's like a video of it. I'll link it down there. It was just completely ridiculous. He was just like trying to make a joke of mosh pits, and you know, mosh pits are serious business. Motherfucker. Kylesa came in after that. They did a pretty decent set. I wasn't like blown away by their performance, but the riffs were really heavy, and I did think that listening to them live, I did like a lot of the songs they played from their new record more in person than I did just listening to the album. And then Indian closed out the night with a fantastically loud, amazingly loud set. Oh my god. I said their latest record was just like noise metal, and they really do just bring that tenfold in person. I mean, they were so freaking loud. Like, it was ear-piercingly loud. I had earplugs in, I was down in front, and yet my ears were like still killing me to be sitting in front of them. It was like 1:30 in the morning, and my girlfriend and I wanted to get up early so we could see more bands as soon as we got up, so we ended up cutting out a few songs before the set was done. But we left the venue, walked across the street, went down to the nearest intersection, still with our earplugs in, and then pulled them out. It was louder there, outside the venue, at the intersection, than it was inside with our earplugs in. It was louder outside with the earplugs out than inside with the earplugs in. Then Wednesday came around. This was a day where I just kind of really needed to be focused and have my head together because I was doing my panel, which I will link over here and down there in the description box. I uploaded it a few days ago. It was basically about whether or not the internet has killed the album review. Obviously, I personally don't feel that way. The title was more of a reaction to something that Jay-Z had said in an interview about the pace at which people listen to records and how people are listening to records sort of at the same time or before critics due to leaks and so on and so forth. And yet, album reviews still exist. Overall, the panel did go really well. There was a sizable crowd there, and a lot of good questions were asked. And before I actually went into the panel, I was having a discussion with somebody who was a fan of the show. Meanwhile, my girlfriend is standing next to me, hearing an amazing band in the distance that is totally going over my head because I'm having this conversation. And it turns out on the 4th floor of the convention center, throughout much of the week of Music Week, they are having these international showcases with bands from all over the world, not necessarily grouping them by genre or anything like that. And this one particular group called Bandai from South Korea was playing a fantastic, amazing set. Everybody who was already in the room before I and my girlfriend had walked in were thoroughly impressed by what was going on stage. It was like metal experimental rock and Godspeed style post-rock combined with traditional Korean instrumentation, and the end result was just fantastic. I ended up picking up their CD, which I still have to find time to listen to at some point this week, but I did, of course, get footage, and the set was just really good. And then after that, I went down to catch Adrian Young after my freaking panel and everything like that. He was actually doing a really awesome set with his band and was coming on after that, performing with the singer Bilal, coming on later in the night and doing backing instrumentation for Souls of Mischief. But before all that happened, I caught a Pete Rock DJ set. It was awesome. He did Grandmaster Flash's The Message, which caused a b-boy circle to form in the middle of the venue. There were some dudes dance battling, and it was awesome. And then he started playing more boom bap stuff and classic 90s stuff. And then, just out of the blue, he decides to play Drake. And then the b-boy circle just melts. It disappears. It just completely dissipates. It's like it was never there to begin with, and everybody just whips out their phones and starts texting. And it's like, what? Why? It's whatever. It doesn't matter. Because immediately after this, I actually had to leave the venue because I wanted to catch Timber Timbre live. One of my favorite artists right now, Canadian singer-songwriter Taylor Kirk and his band. They have a new record coming out in April titled Hot Dreams. One of my favorite songs of the year so far come off this record, the lead single from this LP. And it was an odd live set. Not only did seeing Timber Timbre in person really sort of highlight the amount of influence that Elvis has on Taylor Kirk as a songwriter, but maybe 2 songs in, Taylor Kirk started cussing into the microphone saying, "Turn off the lights. These lights that we have up here, they're fucking awful. Turn them off." So the venue proceeded to turn the lights off, and then the band continued to play throughout their set, playing mostly new stuff, which I assume is going to be on the new record, in near pitch dark blackness. Still, it did end up being one of my favorite sets of the night. The new songs, nearly every single one that I heard in that set or I could make out as being new, sounded absolutely fantastic, and the vocals were just really chilling and yet exciting with their kind of gothic, old school rock and roll hybrid. Unfortunately, immediately after this set, instead of going back to see Souls of Mischief play with Adrian Young and his band, my girlfriend and I had just found out about the horrific car accident that had happened this past week over at the Mohawk, the venue we were just at the night before. You know, it's just like this really horrible thing had just happened, and it just didn't feel right continuing the night partying, you know? All my thoughts, all my hopes go out to the people who were hurt in this accident, and I do hope that everyone who is currently injured by it now, either critically or not, makes a full recovery. Thursday night turned out to be a pretty good night as well. I went over to the Force Field showcase because Daniel Gill, who was on my panel, invited me down there to see some of the bands that he has on the roster right now. I wanted to catch Tony Malina, and I caught his set. He... You know, I like this record that he's about to reissue on Slumberland. I heard it last year. It's a fun little lo-fi pop rock record. The dude played like a 10 or 15 minute set, and then immediately after, like the girl who works with South by Southwest was like, "You can play till like, you know, 9:40 or something," and he's just like, no, not doing that. And it just like goes off stage. And not only did the songs sound a lot better in person because, you know, we're hearing like 3 guitars, bass, and drums, and vocals, just in more of a full effect, not lo-fi or anything like that. But there are some fantastic layered guitar harmonies that he executed with his band live that were sort of Queen-esque, and a lot of the chord progressions and vocal melodies seemed Weezer-esque. And yet, at the start of the set, and segueing in between some of these songs, there were like some thrash metal riffs, really weird addition, and not something I expected, but was actually like a pretty awesome part of the whole thing. I believe it was after this that I went over to a nearby church to catch a few musical performances, one specifically from Perfume Genius. I actually had to go see this set instead of going to go see that Stones Throw Records documentary. I know, I really wanted to see it, but I mean, you know, it's a movie, it's a documentary. I figure I can, you know, get a copy of it and watch it at some point later. Anyway, it was a tearjerker of a set, all right? It was a tearjerker of a set. Really good performances of all the songs, as well as an extended chorus version of one of the tracks from Perfume Genius's last record, which I always thought, you know, could have used an extended chorus version. So I was like, oh my God, he played the chorus twice. Yes. You would never call me baby. Before him, we actually caught a singer-songwriter that had a very high-pitched and very cute voice. Her name, Sea Lion. It was actually a really nice performance. I need to check out her stuff, or maybe you guys should look her up before I even get a chance to, and see if her songs are really good. Again, really kind of cute, high-pitched voice, but sort of sad lyrical delivery. And immediately after, my girlfriend and I went over to catch Basha Bulat, thinking that maybe she was going to play with her full band or something like that, but it was actually a bit of a solo performance, and a fantastic one at that. It was so good that people did not want the next artist to play until she did an encore. Like, people would not stop clapping, not stop making noise, because this fantastic song that she led off with just got people so fired up, they just needed to hear another. Also, while I was down there at the church, I want to say that I was handed a record from a Miss Miyakamiya. I hope I'm pronouncing the name of this project correctly, although this is not what the record looked like when she handed it to me. We had this funny little discussion about how she wanted to give me her record, but we were at South by Southwest, and bringing records around with you is kind of cumbersome, and we will get into the tale of what happened to this record and what made this record look the way that it currently does now later into this video. So after this performance, my girlfriend and I make our way down to go see Mobb Deep over at this place, I believe Pandora was sponsoring, and they pulled together a great performance. Really awesome. just, there's nothing else to say other than it was Mobb Deep. They played a ton of tracks from the Infamous, and it was just one boom bap beat after another. People knew the words, just everybody was going nuts for Mobb Deep. And after that, my girlfriend and I really wanted to catch the set Future Islands was doing over at Cheer Up Charlie's, thinking that the place was going to be closed because it was nearby the Mohawk, but actually they had it open and were doing sets there. So we made our way down. However, before we went, Off was playing at a venue that we were walking by, and I was like, holy crap, that's Off. We got to go inside there. We got to go inside there right now because I got to get in the pit. We have a few minutes. I got to get in the pit. So went in there, went in the pit for like 4 or 5 songs, threw down in the pit, then left, got up out of there, and then we continued our way down to Future Islands. And at the 4AD showcase that they have over there. And my girlfriend and I were able to make it down toward the front slightly. And the more we waited for the band, the more apparent it became that some people, especially this one dude, was incredibly wasted around us, to the point where he was just like screaming at Sam, the band's frontman, on the stage, just screaming, "I'm coming for you, Sam! I'm a-coming for you!" Which was kind of weird, but anyway. So we're waiting for the band to start, and really excited to hear Future Islands just kind of do their thing, given how many songs from their latest record I have liked and how awesome their Letterman performance was. And the band starts, but sort of delivers this preface saying that we're going to do like an old-fashioned punk set, or this set's going to be totally punk, or something like that. And everyone was pretty excited for that. And 2 things happened at that moment. One thing was that I've been listening to Future Islands for a while, and I've always thought they had the potential to blow up, and it's so awesome to see them actually blowing up now. And the other thing that happened was that I'm going to try to take some pictures and maintain my sanity while among all of these people. However, as soon as the first song starts, taking pictures, getting video, it just goes completely insane. And it becomes very apparent that with all the stuff my girlfriend and I have together, it's maybe not a good idea to continue standing in this spot. And the crowd shifts, pushing my girlfriend like 3 or 4 people away from me. There's kind of like a mosh pit or something going. And to be completely honest, I am not holding the record that I have just been handed anymore, because my girlfriend is holding it, because I said that, I'm going to take some pictures, So eventually, as she makes her way back to me, because the crowd is going absolutely ballistic near where they have kind of engulfed her, she comes back saying, "I don't have the record." And as soon as she says this to me, a guy who was crowd surfing just a second ago falls onto my head. And it's at this moment that everything becomes hilarious. This guy just dropped on me. My hat falls off my head. I look down, I see my hat. I reach down to grab it, and simultaneously, this little drunk blonde girl grabs it, trying to pull it out of my hand. And then, I'm looking on the ground for the record. My girlfriend says, "It's over there." I'm like pushing through people. There's this guy who's a little bigger than me. I got like my elbow on his side, and I see the record under his feet, and I got my hand on the record, and every single time he's tapping his toes to the band, I'm fucking pulling the record out from under his feet. And it comes out like this. And I was just like completely mortified and horrified and feeling really bad about what I had done. And, so eventually I make my way to the back of the venue, or the back of the crowd, where I can actually see the band at a distance and just, not be losing my shit and having my stuff getting broken. And then I'm able to pull the record out, and I see that it is still mint. Okay, still in very good condition. Nothing's wrong with it. Although I probably should have not put it in that sleeve anymore. But I will be putting this woman's music down in the description box. Friday was a bit of a slow day for me. I saw a really terrible hip-hop showcase toward the end of the day, and I was trying to actually see CJ Fly and Ab Soul, but I just was not having it with anybody who was coming on before. And believe me, a lot of people who were there at the venue were not having it either, because a lot of the artists were not really doing it for much of anybody who was down there. But earlier in the day, I was able to catch Bad Bad Not Good play a fantastic set for the Innovative Leisure label, as well as Little Dragon, who is pretty much the one artist I promised my girlfriend that we would see while we were down there, because she is so down with Little Dragon. Later in the night, we ended up going down to the hotel early just to catch some sleep so that I could be up early and sort of handle my business, because I had my showcase Saturday over at the Grackle. A lot of fantastic artists played, including Bully, La Luz. Weekend, the good people over at Impose Magazine brought in People Under the Stairs. They played a great set. The Pains of Being Pure at Heart played as well with a new lineup, and they sounded great. New songs sounded great. Old songs sounded great. The Range played a really good DJ set as well. I was really psyched to see YC the Cynic play live once again, and he wowed the crowd in front of him. A lot of people who didn't know who he was. And then Hellfire came on and totally just like, in my opinion, like just bodied the set up until that point. They just had like the craziest, most just like over the top set of anybody there up until that point. They just played so many great collective songs from their new mixtape, a few solo tracks here and there. And then finally, I was completely amazed by what I saw Arab Music performing live. I've heard this guy's music before. I'm familiar with his tracks, familiar with his beats, but I've never seen him perform live. And if you get a chance to see this guy, or if you can at least sort of see him at an angle, I mean, you know, not like far away at a distance or anything like that, you've got to see this dude play the sampler in front of you, because he really performs it like an instrument right there. He's not like playing beats and letting beats ride for like, you know, minutes at a time or anything like that. He's literally constructing the beats in front of you right there and playing a lot of these drops, a lot of these hi-hats and snares at such a fast speed. It's amazing watching this dude just make this right in front of you. It was so fantastic. And what else was fantastic is just how many people showed up, man. Just a lot of people came down to this showcase. The venue was like at capacity for about an hour. I was just really proud of you know, what Terrorize, Impose, and I were able to pull together in terms of bringing artists to the table to come to perform at this thing. But I was even happier that there was a crowd there to watch these people, and a nice crowd too. After that, my girlfriend and I pretty much ended our South by Southwest over at a gay bar called Oil Can Harry's, where Cakes the Killa was playing in an area that seemed, I'm just guessing, very clearly partitioned off for like maybe modeling or like nudity? I don't know. Either way, he was sort of in this weird partitioned off area that wasn't quite a stage, not a musical stage anyway, but it didn't matter. He killed it anyways. No, he was just so over the top. He was crazy. He was nuts. You guys saw that hangout where he was, and you know, he takes that energy and he amplifies it times 10, and then, you know, puts it all out there on the stage. And that was essentially my South by Southwest. That and a whole lot of good food trucks. A whole lot of good food trucks. And a lot of walking, too. Just walking, band. Walking, food truck. Walking, band. Walking, food truck. And yeah, that's like the magic of South by Southwest, everybody. At least my magic for this year. All those artists that I filmed and that I mentioned, I mean, those weren't even all the people that I saw, you know, those were just highlights for me. And there were many other that I caught, and I saw, I mean, I had to have seen like upwards of 50 people play throughout the week, but actually going back to the list, I mean, my favorite sets throughout the week have to be the Sandhet set, amazing, the Indian set, fantastic, the John Bandai set, great, Adrian Young, fantastic. The Timber Timbre set, amazing. The Basha Bulat and Perfume Genius sets. The Future Island set was fantastic. And the Hellfire Club set, as well as the freaking Arab Music set. You know, those were definitely sets that I'm happy I got a chance to see this year. Woo! Transition. Did you go to South by Southwest this past week? If you did, who did you see? What was your favorite set? And if you didn't, who did you wish you saw? Anthony Fantano? Sxsw? Forever.